talking about another chapter from class 11th English book, and in this chapter we will be discussing the sensitive issues of our relationship with our grandparents. And most of your time you must have heard your grandparents say that when they were your age, they had gone to their school which was nearly 5 or 10 kilometers away from their place, and that is a harsh reality. It may have sounded very funny to you, but actually most of our grandparents were born in the pre-independence or the post-independent era, and at that point of time our country did not had that much of infrastructure and facilities, and they had to cut short, or they had to work hard for those facilities, including education. So in this particular chapter, which is titled The Portrait of a Lady, it is written by Khushwant Singh, and Khushwant Singh is a very known Indian critic, literary critic, and a very well-known novelist as well. So this is kind of an autobiographical narrative by Khushwant Singh, where he is establishing and he is explaining his narrative and about his relationship with his grandmother. So let's talk about this particular chapter. Before we do that, I want you to talk to your grandparents again and get a short account from their perspective as to how their childhood days were. It is very difficult to imagine your grandparents being kids, right? This happened to Khushwant Singh as well. He could not imagine his grandmother playing games as a child, or his grandmother going to school, and most probably he had the image of his grandmother as an old lady itself, but he could not imagine his grandmother to be a small child, or going to school, or even playing silly games as children. Now I want you to get the perspective from your grandparents as to how their days were, what struggles they had to do, and you have to compare their struggles with your own struggles. So this will give you a brief and a short description of how our society has evolved over a period of time, and especially after independence. So in this particular chapter, we are dividing the chapter into 4 phases, and these 4 phases are quite important from NCERT point of view or from the chapter point of view. In the first phase, we have the grandmother and her grandson, who is also the narrator. They both are living in the village, and in the village, the grandmother is taking care of the child or the grandson, and they both are living in a kind of a they are living in the village. They are eating stale chapatis for food. She is also taking care of the dogs that are there, the stray dogs in the street. She is also giving some chapatis to them while the grandson is going to the school in the morning. She also takes care of him. She makes him ready, even sings pray to him. So her main motive was to inculcate moral values, and basically and to make him a God-fearing guy. But then again, the parents are not there in the village. They have moved to the city. So we have the issue of rural to urban migration. This you can connect with your SST chapter in a much more better way when we're talking about rural to urban migration for better opportunities when people move from the rural areas to the urban areas. So the same thing happened to this family as well. This particular family, now the whole burden of raising a child, it fell upon the grandmother, and the child, who is also the narrator, he thinks that his grandmother could not be a child. He thinks that his grandmother is as she is for all the years that he has seen her. Now in this particular phase, I have written some of the main characteristics of each and every phase. In the first phase, the grandmother is taking care of the grandson or the narrator. They are close friends. She takes good care of him. She tries to inculcate moral values, and also she prays to him. She sings prayers to him every day in the hope that he one day might learn those prayers. Then she also takes care of his schooling and the food and other facilities that she can provide, and obviously the money is also coming from the parents as well. So she also spends her time in reading books, so that means she wants to learn more and more. She is kind of a lady who wants to become independent, and basically she wants to increase her own knowledge, or it may be the case that she wanted to help her grandson in her homework as well. Then she prayed a lot. She had, as you can see, she has a rosary in her hands. Rosary, we say rosary in English, in Hindi we say mala, right? So she has a rosary in her hand and she prays a lot. She's a God-fearing lady and would like her grandson to become a same person as she was. Then we already talked about the movement of parents from the rural area to the urban areas. Now over here, the relationship between the grandmother and the grandson is quite strong. So the physical proximity is also strong and the emotional proximity is also strong. So the relationship is quite strong because because the narrator is a child at this particular point of time, and the impression that the grandmother has is quite a great lot. Next, we move on to the second phase where now the parents have established themselves in the city. They are earning quite good, and now they are calling these two members of the family in the city. So now they own a home in the city, and the grandmother and the narrator, now they are living in the same room but in the city. And because of better financial opportunities, the narrator is able to go to an English school. And when he is going to an English school, the grandma does not love it so much because she thinks that it is better to have the Indian values, the old traditions and the cultural beliefs that should be inculcated into the students and especially her grandson. So here we can talk about the cultural divide, or precisely if you want to say the generation gap. This is called the generation gap. Then again, they both share the same room. Here the physical proximity is there, but emotionally now the child is a teenager. So the teenager becoming, and with the coming of adolescence, he's starting to have some external environmental influences, and because of this he is starting to get detached a bit from his grandmother emotionally. So although they are living in the same room and the narrator is coming home, he is telling about his teachers, the grandmother is also asking what he did and what he did not do at the school and how his teachers were. So when the narrator says that they are learning English words, they are learning music, they are even they are having assemblies etc. in the school. So the grandmother does not like the idea of these English medium schools. She thinks that English schools are just they will distance her grandson from the Indian culture, and secondly she thinks that music is meant for beggars and paupers only. So music is not a good idea and it is not meant for her grandson. Thirdly, she thinks that these English medium schools are of no use because they are not teaching any concept of God, and although they might be having, but the grandmother is having such an impression that they are not teaching any God, they are not teaching any values, and they are not making children a God fearing children. Okay, so this was the second phase. In the third phase, when we talk about, in the third phase, the narrator has grown up and he has sought admission into some college and university, and with this phase he is given his own room. Now the physical distancing also starts. With this physical distancing, the bond of friendship is broken or is severed by physical distancing as well as emotional distancing. So most probably the narrator also did not have the time to come to grandma and to talk to her about various issues. Maybe the narrator would have felt that grandma would not understand what he has to say regarding his studies, and most probably now he is distancing himself because he might have found some other friends, and there might be other family members whom he may be involved with. So now the physical distancing with grandma also starts, and with this point of time, now the grandma is also trying to recuperate. She is also trying to establish herself, and she accepts her loneliness. But the final nail comes when the narrator goes to the foreign country. He goes abroad to study. Now when he is going for studying abroad, grandma does not say anything. She prays a lot every time, and at that point of time she makes a new friend, and that were the sparrows in the balcony. So she used to sit in the afternoon, she used to break the breadcrumbs. She had a special relationship with these sparrows. The sparrows used to come to her, they used to perch on her shoulder, sit on her lap, and then She used to even curse them, she used to talk to them, and that made the relationship between sparrows and the grandmother an everlasting relationship. So now she has found a new friend. Now the narrator is in a foreign country, and the grandmother has accepted her loneliness. The parents are away working, most probably both the parents will be working, and there is nobody at home to talk to. She cannot express her feelings to anyone, she cannot share her feelings or even talk to anybody. So at this point of time, we can imagine that she did not have any mobile phone as well. So she could not even talk to her relatives or to any neighbor, because she did not know anybody. In the village, she might have known some of the neighboring people in the area, so she could have talked to. But when they moved to the city, everybody was unknown to her, and that made her secluded even more. And this was very emotionally distressing for her as well. So now when she was praying a lot, most probably she achieved a state where she is indifferent now. Now in the fourth stage, these are the three stages which are very, very important. So this is a turning point that when the narrator is going abroad. After this, after 5 years, when narrator comes back, so in 5 years she has accepted herself. Now after 5 years, when the narrator comes back, she does not express any emotions. She is fine with it. So this shows that she has accepted that her end is near, and now the narrator even sees that she has not aged a day. She is just like looks like as she used to do in the village, as she used to do in his childhood. So the narrator makes a point over here by establishing that her physical appearance is the same, but we have to make a note over here that her emotional, you can say, her emotional state has changed, and she has become indifferent or emotionally detached. At this point of time, after 5 years, she just welcomes the narrator, she just embraces him and gives him a hug, and that was it. And after that, she did not discuss how he has been in a foreign country, has he made new friends, how were his studies. So she does not ask those kind of questions. So that denotes that she was quite emotionally detached. Then again, after some time, for a few days, she stopped praying, and that most probably it rang a bell in the minds of the other family members that her end was near. So she stopped praying, she stopped talking to anyone. So most of all the members in the family, they objected to it, but then she did not listen. The only friend she had at this point of time were the sparrows. She did not stop feeding those sparrows, and she did not going out every afternoon and feeding them, giving them breadcrumbs and other tidbits so that they could be fed. And then again she had a long chit chat with those sparrows. Obviously that was a one-sided conversation, but then it relieved her heart out. We have to note this point over here. As her end was near, she called all the neighboring women to her house, and she asked them to sing some songs. So they sang songs, she even sang the songs herself, and at that point of time, she had stopped praying for those couple of days, and now she knew that her end was near. And in her last moments, she stopped even talking to anybody, and she went away quite peacefully. So now suddenly when she went away, now everybody knew that she was dead. Every relative came to the house. She was taken away on a makeshift what we call arthi in Hindi, right? So that is the hearse came, and she was taken to be cremated. So at this point of time, you have to note what changes took place in the family. All of them felt sad, but most of all, she did not feel too much emotionally attached to the family. So she had accepted her emotional seclusion as well. And then again, let's talk about these birds. So as she was being taken away to the cremation ground, the birds did not even chirp. They were just as silent, and they were as if they were lamenting. They were equally sad on her death as all the family members were. So they were equally sad, and they did not even chirp. At this point of time, the narrator's mother, she came out and she gave some breadcrumbs and tidbits to these birds, and they did not even look at it. So this shows what, that her relationship with the birds was an emotional one. Her relationship with the birds was a special one, and at this point of time when they were given breadcrumbs, they were not there for the breadcrumbs, but they were there out of love for the grandmother. So when she died, they refused to eat those breadcrumbs, and in the last line of this particular chapter, it is given that in the next morning, the sweeper swept away those breadcrumbs into the dustbin. So this again signifies that this is a very potent and very strong symbol that everything is not physical. Everything is not just about food, just about money, and just about the material things we have. It is all about emotional attachment and the soul-to-soul connection that we have with our family members. That matters a lot. It is, your parents are also providing you many things, but is just because of that you are attached to your parents? I think not. You are attached with them because you have a special bond with your parents, with your friends and your family members. So this is a very sensitive and a very emotional chapter. But first, I would like you to read all these things. Secondly, I would want you to get an account of your grandparents regarding their struggles in their childhood. And I have written some concepts from the SST also. When we are talking about the concept where the narrator is he is talking about the life expectancy of his grandmother, he is thinking that his grandmother has not aged a day in so many years that he has seen her. So we are talking about life expectancy of India. Okay, you can relate this particular chapter to that also. I would like you to find out what was the life expectancy of India after independence in 1970s and after 2010. So that will give you a trend as to how life expectancy in India is increasing or decreasing. That we have to find out. Secondly, when we are aligning our chapter with SST, let me give you one more information. Now Supreme Court of India has also passed a judgment regarding taking care of our parents as well as senior citizens in the families. Now see children, because now we are moving towards from a developing nation to a developed nation, the family structure is also changing. We are coming from joint families, they are breaking up, people are moving from rural to the urban areas, and then they are living in small or nuclear families and even nano families. I'll call them nano families. Why? Because there is just one mother, one father and one child. That is called a nano family. You can fit in a nano car, right? So due to this nano family, generally the old grandparents and the senile population is neglected. And it is not just the physical neglection, it is the emotional neglection that takes a heavy toll on their physical health as also and also their mental health. And most of the times we have seen old age homes filled with such people who are neglected by their children. So in order to avoid that, and we are not a society which neglects our parents and grandparents. So the Supreme Court, on the direction of the Supreme Court, our legislature, that is the Parliament, has passed one law, that is the Maintenance and the Welfare of Senior Citizens and Parents Act 2007. I want you to Google it up and write a short note on this particular act as to what it does and what facility it provides to our grandparents and our parents. So what are the provisions in this particular act that we have to find out. Thirdly, you have to connect this chapter with a poem that you have, that is the photograph. So in my previous videos I have already made one video on the photograph. That is again a relationship between a child and her mother and her sisters or her cousins basically. So I want you to find out the similarities and the dissimilarities between two chapters, and I want you to do a comparative study on these two chapters as to how they are similar and how they are not. Okay, so these are the few concepts that were related to this particular chapter. I think you found it quite interesting, and you can also use this as a mind map to summarize the chapter as I have summarized. In your NCERT questions, one of the questions I have already answered, that what were the three phases that the narrator had, or what were the three phases in the relationship that the narrator had with the grandmother before going abroad for studies. So these are the three phases: phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3. As you can see the clocks which I have made for a better comprehension and understanding. So I wish that you would read the chapter and you would summarize it with a mind map creatively. That will be for the day. Thank you.